My freshman year, I was 5'3", 120, and they put me at center. So then sophomore year,
That's tiny.
I don't know if I was center again sophomore year, but then my junior year, for sure, I was DB.
Okay.
So I went from center to defensive back. Probably the first time in history that's ever happened in high school.
We're going to have to look that up. I'm going to see.
I don't know if that's happened before, but I mean, it would probably have to be the Royals.
Really?
Because it would be local.
Fair enough.
It'd be cool.
I know.
You grew up going to that stadium and to actually be on the field playing would be sick.
You think you'll ever get there?
Probably not.
Why not? You have to believe in yourself.
It's a long road.
If you're not pitching well and you're on the mound, how do you go through that like mental block of, okay, I keep walking guys? What do you do in your head or like with your catcher maybe?
So I just take big deep breaths. Like if you see me on the mound and I'm struggling, like I'm taking the biggest deep breaths. It's just obvious.
Welcome back to the Next Gen podcast. Today I have yet another BVN baseball alum. I guess you're the first baseball, but another North alum. We just have everyone on the show basically. So today we have John Sjoberg. John, welcome. Thanks for being here today. How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Pretty good. So John is, like I said, baseball kid, multi-sport athlete at North, but now was at Quincy. Now we're at State Fair Community College. So let's start with some little icebreaker questions, okay? There are no wrong answers, except for I will judge your answers,
right.
Okay? So, lucky number.
15.
Why?
I wore 15. I think it was just the number I was given.
Fair enough.
And I've just chose it ever since.
No, like Mahomes legacy?
No, not at all.
Just liked 15. No. All right. Who do you think has been the biggest influence on your baseball career?
Oh, it'd probably be a coach.
Right. There's a lot of those.
Yeah, I played at Precision. I don't know if you've heard. Or
Played.
Your little brother played there.
Yeah.
So Coach Hovey, he was big influence, kind of forcing me to join the club. Mm-hmm. And then Coach Moore, I don't know if Michael played for him at all.
I don't remember.
But probably them two, for
sure.
Yeah,
MJ played there because of you. So
really?
Yeah, because my dad was like, "What teams should we play for?" And you're like, "I like this one. Come here."
Yeah.
It lasted a whole like one season, but he was there. What is your biggest superstition?
See, unlike my brother, who I'm
I
not
know.
very superstitious
Right.
at all. But I mean, like baseball, you have a big warm-up routine as a pitcher, so I like to do like the exact same warm-up routine every time.
Okay, walk me through it.
So pitchers do like a lot of bands. They do like a lot of mobility on the floor. So start with like a foam roller, plyo ball or lacrosse ball, and then do like a lot of T-spine mobility, a lot of band work, and I just do like the same exact workouts the same way. And if I mess up, I feel like I just messed everything up.
Right. I'm trying to think about David's superstitions.
David was like songs and like
Even
he has to
still,
step like out of the stadium like on a certain yard line.
He's such a weirdo. I know I told you this, but John's older brother and me are high school best friends. I don't know if he would say that same thing, but I would. He doesn't like to share his emotions. And I texted both of them trying to get them in because David's a football player. And he was all confused about times. And I really wanted, the goal of this episode was actually for the two of them to get to interview each other because that would have been drama. That would have been fun.
Fought the whole time.
Good views for me. So I was hoping for it, but it's okay. David will come on another day whenever his heart so desires, whenever it lines up with his busy schedule of workouts and cooking. Okay. What is of all the teams that you've ever played for, your favorite mascot, logo? Which one was your favorite that was the coolest?
I mean, Blue Valley North, I feel like the Mustang was pretty cool.
It is.
I really only played for them and Precision in my career.
You don't like the Roadrunners?
I mean, it's cool, but I feel like the Mustang, just the logo with the color combos, I feel like it was a lot cooler.
I agree. I totally agree. I love the navy, and like navy just looks so good, especially like silver.
Yeah, and we had like a Mustang where it was like the American flag one.
Yeah, those were really cool for
like
the
red and
baseball
blue. It was
team.
pretty sick.
The softball team never got cool merch like that. I was like, really? And then what would be your, not thinking about skill, just like if you were the best baseball player out there, you had your choice, either a college or a pro team, what would be your dream team to play for?
I mean, it would probably have to be the Royals.
Really?
Because it would be local.
Fair enough.
It'd be cool to just.
I know.
You grew up going to that stadium and then to actually be on the field playing would be sick.
Do you think you'll ever get there?
Probably not.
Why not? You have to believe in yourself.
It's a long road.
It is, but you have 4 years of eligibility to get there.
Never know.
Never know.
It's baseball, anything can happen.
Exactly. Okay, so let's like back up to day one of like little John wanting to play baseball. Just why did you start playing baseball? How old were you? Tell me about it.
I want to say it was like kindergarten. My grandpa bought me a camp, he gave me like a ticket to a camp for Christmas or something at the Blue Valley Fields.
Oh, cool.
So I went there in like kindergarten, and it was just like hitting off a tee. Like we were in kindergarten, we weren't doing anything crazy.
Right.
And then that was like my first memory of baseball. And then ever since then, I mean, I didn't join a club team till like high school, so it was always like dad coach just for fun. But I don't know, it was a lot more fun for me than like football. You'd train all summer, like hard hitting.
Right.
Like, it just wasn't enjoyable for me really. So baseball was like more individualized, but as a team.
That's fair. What was your football position? I don't even remember.
So I started my freshman year as center because they thought that I was going to end up like David.
He's a little bit bigger than you.
My freshman year, I was 5'3", 120, and they put me at center. So then sophomore year,
That's tiny.
I don't know if I was center again sophomore year, but then my junior year, for sure, I was DB.
Okay.
So I went from center to defensive back. Probably the first time in history that's ever happened to a high schooler.
We're going to have to look that up. I'm going to see.
I don't know if that's happened before, but yeah, then I was defensive back, which was a lot harder.
Yeah.
It was a lot more fun.
Okay. See, whenever like looking at your body type, I would have assumed you to be like a running back.
I'd see myself like a linebacker. But when I was in high school, I was a lot smaller than I am now.
Yeah, you were tiny for a football guy.
I didn't really fit in anywhere really.
No. Why did you get into football?
I mean, I didn't start playing football till 7th grade.
Okay.
And then I played in 8th grade at Prairie Star. And then...
You went to Prairie Star for a year?
Yeah, 1 year. So I started at OTMS.
I don't remember that at all.
6th grade, then I went to Prairie Star 7th, 8th. So I played there. We were pretty good. I was defensive line, which was fun.
Yeah.
But then in high school, I played because I probably would have played anyways, but it was pretty fun to play with David.
Right.
But
I don't let him know that.
Yeah. Well, then David was gone my junior year, so I played a year without him, and I don't know if that was a reason why I gave up kind of that with baseball.
Right.
I mean, you practice all summer long in the morning for football, and that's
sucks.
Baseball season. So it's like when I'd tell a coach, hey, I'm not going to be here for 3 weeks because I'm going to be traveling all over, they would get mad. So
where all did you travel to?
My junior year, we went to Colorado, Indianapolis, Georgia, and yeah, that was it.
Just with precision?
Yeah.
Nice. When did you know that you wanted to pursue college as pursue baseball in college, like as like a very important part of your life? Obviously, you're switching around schools for it.
So my sophomore year, I was not very good. I was throwing I was probably throwing like 72 miles an hour. And then I come back my junior year, and I practiced at Premier. And all of a sudden, I was throwing like 83. So I was like, shoot, I might be decent here.
Yeah.
Because it was just all of a sudden out of nowhere, I could actually be halfway decent. And I think it was just like it gave me like an itch. Like it showed how like in 1 year you can go from 72 to 83 just because that's how baseball works. When you're throwing, so.
Yeah, and just if you could do it, you can keep improving.
And pitching's a lot of fun. Like there's so many stats around it where it's like individualized. So it's like you're always working.
Totally see you in the long run, like working in baseball stats. And like that market's literally growing. And I think you'd kill at just like looking at all the numbers and using them to analyze.
I'm big on digging into my stats, which isn't very healthy, but it's just so much fun to track.
I think it can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing, and you probably use it to your benefit of using it not as like shoot, I didn't do this, but more of a okay, I need to improve.
Yeah, there's so many stats in baseball that it's stupid. Like
we'll list off some that you think are stupid.
I mean, none of them are stupid. I just think that like the amount is stupid.
Yeah.
But like the big ones that are like important are like your ERA, so your earned run average. You got your walks to strikeout ratio, which is pretty important. That's what we emphasize on a lot. But I wouldn't say there's any that I actually like hate, because I can't say that as a pitcher because they're all pretty important.
If you, as a pitcher, if you were only allowed to track one stat, what would be your like, this is the most valuable to me?
Shoot, there's so many. I'd say earned run average is obviously like really important. Like that shows you as a pitcher you give up
Right.
this amount of runs during a game. But like individualized to like actually be efficient, I'd probably say strike to walk ratio. Like strikeout to walk ratio. Because it's
Yeah.
showing the runners that you're like allowing on base versus strikeouts. So
See, the one that my brother really focuses on is his ball speed. And I totally think that's like a like 16-year-old trying to
Yeah.
get their boy thing.
well, I mean it's true. Everyone's just
I think it's the
Velo,
first
velo.
step, you know? It's the first step of can I be a successful pitcher? And now like, okay,
yeah.
let's look at it. So I totally lost my train of thought. That like knocked me off. I had my next question ready for you. So pitching, wow, my brain power just went down like the drain. Oh, I had a good question. Now it's gonna bug me. Okay. Recruitment wise,
Mm-hmm.
how did you start that? I asked Ella the same question
Yeah.
for last week's episode. What, like, how do you even start that in your own eyes? Like, give me okay, I wanted to be a college pitcher. This is my next step.
Yeah.
What did I do?
So I think it was like junior year probably when I got that jump where I was like, okay, the D2 average pitcher throws 84, 85 average.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, I'm right there. So I just started sending, baseball's big on Twitter. So like that, most people think Twitter is just like people throwing banter out there
Right.
and hating on teams and stuff.
Which
But
is
for
true.
baseball, it's like huge on recruiting. Like
Which is so odd.
it's like just for my Twitter, you go on it, it's just people posting their videos. It's just videos of kids hitting, kids throwing, and then they post like all their stats, their metrics, everything
Right.
like that. So I think I started my Twitter my junior year, and I posted a video of me at Premier, which is local, and I was throwing like 82, 83, and it was my first post, and I think it got like 16,000 views. And it was just like all of a sudden I was like, wait, I'm actually getting like attention. Like,
Yeah.
I could maybe get an offer from a coach, which at the time, like I was like, that would be pretty cool.
Right. Obviously.
So then I started just messaging coaches like on Twitter, schools I was interested in, and then they'd respond. And then there'd also be like recruiting apps like Field Level,
Right,
which is
right.
how I ended up at Quincy,
okay.
which you'd post your like there's NCSA, like I forget, there's so many recruiting sites where you just
Yeah.
post your video. But mine was Field Level, and then you just post your video and these coaches look at it and then they just message you.
Nice. What other schools were you like looking at pretty seriously that you liked?
So Quincy was like my only D2. I had Ottawa,
Okay.
which is NAI. They're pretty. I mean, they have really good facilities,
Yeah.
good programs. So that was probably where I was going to go if I didn't get Quincy. But obviously that wasn't like my dream school, but it was my best opportunity at the time.
You didn't want to look at Fort Hayes?
I tried.
Really?
I mean, I messaged the coaches. My senior year, they actually went through a whole rebuild. So they went 4 and like 45. My like junior.
Sounds like
my
BB
prime
in
recruiting,
softball.
when they would recruit players, they were 4 and 45. So I was like, shoot, I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
And then they fired all their coaches. They kicked off like all their players. They just booted them. And then the next season they were like 500. And then this past year they were like 35 and 23, something like that. So
Getting better. They're
I actually messaged them when I left Quincy, and I was talking to a coach, but then he ended up taking a different job opportunity. So that would have been cool if I went there, but that didn't end up happening.
yeah, that would have been like perfect for your
Yeah.
family of just make it a whole weekend kind of thing. Always basically living there. You've done a lot. What I've noticed from your socials, you're not very good at posting on social media, but baseball guys in particular, and you especially, are really good at posting your like at home workouts.
Yeah.
When it's off season, when you're home for winter break, when you're, not in season with school, how are you staying in shape? How are you continuing to like, strengthen your arm and everything?
So I've mentioned Premier, which is where I've gone since I was in probably, it might have even been elementary school. Like I was like a toddler.
Right.
And my brother went there, so there wasn't that many people my age there, but because David was a little bit older, they kind of let me tag
Right.
along with him, and then they moved locations right over by Topgolf, so I go there like every day.
Okay.
Every morning I'm going there. They have a pitching facility and a weight room in the same place, so I go there during the summer. I like live there.
Pretty much, yeah. So what does your like do you have a coach there, or is it just like on your own, figuring it out on your own?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of pro guys in there, so they kind of give you tips and such. But during high school, it was like a high school program, and they'd have minor league coaches.
Nice.
Like the minor league guys would be on break, so they would coach you while you're doing that. But now it's mainly I just work with Bob Zimmerman. He owns the place. He pitched in the majors. He threw like low hundreds. Like I'm pretty sure.
I think you're right.
But he was pretty good, and so he helps me a lot. And then when I lift, I have a weights coach named Trevor.
Okay.
And he uploads like lifts for me, and I just do those.
And just kind of do them whenever you go, or is there anyone that's like, are your school coaches making sure that you keep in shape over break?
We send them videos, so they're like, send us videos, and I just prop up a camera, kind of send them a video of me throwing, and they're like, okay, they just want to check that you're
actually
There's
doing
a lot of
something.
kids that are traveling with their families and
not working on it.
Yeah.
So you started at Quincy. When did you decide to make the switch and look elsewhere?
So I think I knew that I was probably gonna leave, probably like winter break.
Okay.
Because I noticed that like the kids ahead of me that were in like the same situation that I was in, they were leaving, and I was like, that's kind of smart. Like the situation isn't working out for them. They're gonna go down to JUCO, build back up, and then go to somewhere that's equal or better. So I kind of knew it, but I didn't say anything. And then it was summer, so it was like the first week into summer, I decided like, hey, I'm gonna enter the portal. So I entered the portal, posted on Twitter again, and made it my emphasis on JUCO.
Okay.
So that I could go to a 2-year and then go back.
Okay.
And then I ended up messaging State Fair, and they responded.
That was the only place you looked? It was easy?
No, I went on visits other places. Dodge was big. I had a lot of schools in Arkansas.
Okay.
But State Fair was like the closest. That was the big emphasis on why
you wanted to be like at home, kind of?
Especially if I'm at JUCO, like
Fair
I can
enough.
go home when I want to. It's not a big school. Like you're not partying.
Right.
Just with your friends, so like I could come home.
Yeah. Just baseball and family.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense for you. How often do you think you will come home? Like, obviously during the season will be less because you'll be busy, but.
Yeah. So I'm a lot closer now than I was at Quincy, but I probably came home less. When I was at Quincy, I think being further gives you like the feeling of like homesick.
Yeah.
So you feel like you're further from home, so you need to go home. So I was like 3 hours.
Right.
So I went home quite often, like almost every weekend, every other weekend.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And then when I was at State Fair this year, I probably didn't go home till like a month and a half in.
Okay.
And then I think total I went home like 5 or 6 times. It's only an hour away. So
right.
It's like,
do you ever bring buddies back? I know David always brings buddies back.
not at State Fair, I didn't, but I brought buddies back from Quincy a couple times.
What does now school, like everything, what's your life like at State Fair? Like living situation, tell me about your like workout schedules with the team, being a student.
So I live in an apartment, which technically it's dorm style. So I live with 3 other baseball guys. I have a bunk bed, and then one of our guys is an RA, so he got his own room.
Nice.
But it's a pretty good sized apartment for 3 of us. And so it's right across the street from the school. I took like 4 classes this year, 1 online, so I wasn't really doing much schooling. I was probably done with school at like 9, 10 a.m.
Wow.
every day.
See, you're also like an early guy. Like I wouldn't even be starting my day until 10.
Well, especially because like our practices, I don't remember exactly, but they would start at like 2 or 3 and go till 5 or 6.
Okay.
They weren't crazy. And then we did morning weights in the morning where we'd either lift or we would run. So the hitters one day would lift, the pitchers one day would do running.
Okay.
So we did like speed and agility and conditioning.
Yeah.
And then in the weight room, we just did our basic lifts.
How long have you been like a PO?
My junior year.
Okay. What was that transition
technically
like?
my junior year, actually, I wasn't.
Okay.
My junior year, I asked Dudley if I could be a PO, and he said no because I was so young, and there was no reason to be a PO at the time. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to be a fielder and hit. I hated it. But then my senior year, I got hurt. But if I was to not be hurt, I would have been PO only.
So why did you want to make that like jump and only pitch?
Well, I don't know. I was not very good at hitting and fielding ever.
Interesting. Okay.
No, I think my junior year is probably my best year. I was on JV, but I was still like batting like 250, but that was like peak John hitting.
Wow.
I was never very good.
It's okay. That's probably peak Alex hitting too. And I wasn't a pitcher, so. That's interesting, yeah, because my brother really does not want to be a PO, and he like knows for his career he probably should, but like at
It gets
ABA,
boring, but it's a lot more fun when you're in the moment.
right? I guess. So how do you deal with as a PO knowing if I'm not pitching this game, I'm just sitting on the bench and doing anything like that? For me personally, I know pitcher like softball, baseball are so different, but me, I would not be okay. Like I would not be good at that. I'd be like, oh my gosh, why am I not the one? I know, again, baseball pitching, you can't pitch every single inning, every single game. But how do you like deal with that, I guess? Does it even affect you?
So when I was a starter, it was a little bit easier because you knew when you were going to pitch. They would tell you like before you go into the weekend, hey, you're on Saturday. But then when I got into college, you had to be really like, you had to be the top 4 guys on the team, on the pitching staff to be the starter basically. So then I switched to reliever, which you're sitting in the bullpen every single game nearly, unless you pitched before or they for some reason like no. Sometimes they'll pick like, this is the 6 guys that we think are going to go in. You guys are in the pen. So some games you know that you're not pitching. But then most of the games you're just sitting there waiting. Every single game you warm up like, hey, I can pitch in this game. You just, whenever your time comes, it comes, which that's a little bit hard because you have to constantly be ready.
Right. How do you get any sort of like nerves when you finally do get your chance to be like, okay, I haven't played in the last 3 games?
No, I wouldn't say nerves. It's almost like out of the bullpen for me is like a really big adrenaline rush because like it can be like the 7th or 8th inning. You've been sitting there for 2 hours and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, you're pitching the next inning and you have to just like rush. You're doing your plyos as fast as you possibly can.
See, that would make me like anxious.
Yeah, like when I was at Quincy, there was one time where I had to warm up in like 3 minutes.
That's
from sitting down for like 2 hours. So it's just like a huge adrenaline rush. You get on the mound, you're just like
you get excited and not. See, I would not get excited. I'd be like, okay, like here we go.
I get a little bit more nervous like if I know that I'm pitching in the 7th because then you're sitting there the whole time like
That's fair.
But then if you're not, you're just relaxed.
So what's your mindset go, like kind of like your internal messaging from when you were a starter to now being a reliever? Like what was that switch like?
I mean, for those reasons, it's hard because you obviously just have no clue when you're going to pitch. But I think I like it more because you get to pitch more often because you're only going like 1 or 2 innings instead of a full 5 innings. And then you can't pitch for maybe up to a week. Like it's usually like 4 days. Then you can pitch again. But if you're in the bullpen, you could pitch on a Friday or a Saturday, or I mean like on Friday, and then you could pitch again on the Sunday. Yeah. So you could end up pitching 2 games in a series.
It's true. If you're not pitching well and you're on the mound, how do you go through that like mental block of, okay, I keep walking guys. What do you do in your head or like with your catcher maybe?
So I just take big deep breaths. Like if you see me on the mound and I'm struggling, like I'm taking the biggest deep breaths that it's just obvious. Like it's probably not good because the other team just can tell that I'm like struggling.
Well, they already know that if you just walk some guys, they know you're struggling.
Yeah, but usually I just try to take like big deep breaths and just calm myself down. Obviously sometimes you get on the mound and you're just like cussing in your glove, like you're angry, but most of the time I'm just like calm and I just keep taking deep breaths usually.
Okay. And that works?
No.
Okay. Well, you let me know when you think of something good.
Yeah.
How have you ever had to deal with hecklers, like either the other team or parents in the stands?
One time I went to Wichita.
Okay.
And it was my first time ever playing in Wichita, and we played a high school, but it was their club team, I think. It was something like all the kids were from the same high school.
Got it.
And they just all happened to be Dominican, which Dominican baseball players are very good. So I was not pitching very good, and they all had maracas in the dugout in a baseball game. Their whole team
has to
had
be
maracas.
illegal.
Yeah, and they were screaming at me in Spanish and like just yelling out. Like obviously you knew that it wasn't good because of the way that they were saying it.
Yeah.
And then eventually I got the umpire to get rid of their maracas because I've just never seen that in a baseball game.
I haven't either. I've seen like cowbells during like a football game.
Yeah, but not the players on the sideline using the cowbells.
So that's wild.
You definitely get heckled a lot as a pitcher. But
yeah. How do you just like ignore it? I would never.
Usually you're just so zoned in, like you're just attacking the batter.
Yeah.
You just don't hear it unless they're like literally the whole team is just yelling at you. Usually you zone it out.
Okay. In softball, this is way less common, so I'm always curious about it. Have you ever like intentionally hit a batter, and like why?
No.
Okay,
I don't
good.
think I ever have. I know like my teammates have tried to like convince me before.
Right.
Like in like club ball. Because obviously it's big in baseball. Like
Right.
if not as much in high school. Like you look at the majors and they can control their pitches like 100%. Like if they hit a guy, it's probably on purpose.
Right.
So you see it a lot more then the other team hits a guy in the first batter, then they get into a brawl.
Right.
But in high school, usually it's like it's an accident.
Yeah.
We're not
that good.
Pros.
Yeah.
Like the ball's gonna go where the ball wants to go.
It wasn't a petty thing. It was just an accident.
Yeah, but no, not really. In the pros, it happens a lot.
Right. Okay, give me some of your, before we have to wrap up, give me some of your fun, like craziest baseball stories. Like either getting up really early or like wrong uniform, just funny mess ups.
I mean, there's been times where like I forgot my glove.
How do you do that?
Like my dad has to bring it to me like in high school. But mess ups, I wouldn't. Funny mess ups. I mean, I'm a pitcher.
Right.
So balking people in is kind of a funny mess up. I
Right.
tend to balk runners in
Yeah.
pretty often for some reason.
Okay.
Which is not funny, but when you're on the other side of it,
It's like that
pretty
sucks.
funny when the other pitcher does it. So
Yeah.
it's kind of just like embarrassing type thing.
It's really embarrassing.
Yeah.
I'm so disappointed in you. See, I was notorious for showing up in the wrong uniform. Be like, oh, we're supposed to wear whites today. Great, I wore my blacks. Awesome.
No, usually I bring like all my uniforms in the
Yep.
car just in case for some reason.
That's what I try to do, but then it's the one day that I'm like, no, I'm confident this is what we're supposed to wear, or I'll only bring one of them, and then it'll be like, well, the other team's also wearing white, so we're gonna switch, and I'll be like,
That's happened.
yeah, all the time. What else? Can you tell me about some changes from high school ball to college ball, like just like the intensity level or workout, whatever?
It's definitely like workouts. So like the coaches, like you're almost like their kids in essence. So like every single day they wake up and you're going to them every single day.
Right.
So it's almost like the coaching mentality is just a lot harder.
Okay.
Because they're tougher on you because they're with you every day. And then the workouts like are obviously going to be harder. So
Right.
we're lifting as a team 3 to 4 days a week, practicing every day. With pitching, in college they get a lot more emphasized on stats. So like you're breaking down stats, you're breaking down footage with your coach.
Yeah.
After every single start. So that's the big difference.
What was that transition like for you? Like, how did you handle being like, oh,
Yeah.
I was used to this, now we're gonna change it up?
I mean, it wasn't that hard because at Premier, I feel like it prepped me a lot for like, you see you're with these college athletes already. So you kind of already knew the mentality before going into it.
Right.
And David, I got to see how hard they worked him. So I kind of like going into it, I expected the worst already.
Right. And so you're academically a sophomore, but you're a redshirt freshman.
Yeah.
So explain, like, I guess the decision to redshirt.
Yeah. So as a freshman in baseball, typically, especially as a pitcher, you don't, at the NCAA level, you're not going to pitch that much,
Right.
if at all. So my freshman year, I didn't pitch, and I knew going into it that I was probably going to redshirt, but then they make you sit around like, hey, you're maybe going to pitch.
Right.
Which at that point, you don't want to pitch. You don't want 5 innings. You want to keep your eligibility.
Yeah.
So I got my red shirt my freshman year, and then obviously I switched schools. So now I'm going into JUCO, where I could either go back to another 4-year or go back again to a JUCO next year.
So including this year, you have 4 years total left?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
starting this year will be my first year eligibility that I'll use.
Right, yeah. Okay. So then, but school-wise, you said earlier you're going to graduate technically from JUCO in May, right?
Yeah,
because you're a
technically-
sophomore.
Technically, I could graduate from JUCO this year, so you have to start different degrees if you want to stay longer.
Do you think you'll stay for a second year? Or I know it's like very early into the process, but do you think you would stay for a second year, or do you think you would want to switch to a 4-year?
Obviously, it depends on how your season goes going into it. Like, I know that staying another year is probably going to be the most beneficial because I'll get better and I'll be playing versus going to a school where you might even sit on the bench for another year. So it's kind of just like if I get this offer in front of me that's really good, like if I got to go play at Hayes with David, like, I'd probably take that. But most of the offers that could come at me right now, I'd probably go back.
Fair enough. What do you think your life like post baseball will look like? You know, after your eligibility is out, you said earlier you don't think you're going to make it to that, majors level, and, very few do.
Yeah.
So just props to you for even getting to the collegiate level. But how will baseball still be a part of, like, your lifelong love of the sport?
So my degree is business management, so I want to go into business, but I have my private pilot's license, so I want to go into business aviation, like the business side of aviation. So I don't think I'm going to be like anywhere in the sports industry.
Okay.
But I think that like the work ethic that comes with baseball and like the grind that it takes and like the adversity.
Right.
That's like a big thing that's going to like give me an upper hand, I feel like, when I graduate.
Right. I know you're way too young to think about this. I'm way too young to think about this. But would you ever like coach your kids and like want to like, foster a love of baseball in their life?
My kid's going to go to the MLB for sure.
Oh, okay. We're really confident.
Oh, yeah.
Future John, like
Easily.
Junior the third or something at this point.
He'll be like 2 and he'll be chucking it.
All right. Well, fair enough, honestly. I think that's about all I have left. So until we get David on the show, I do really, really want to create an episode somehow with both of you guys. So
fun.
Until then, thank you everyone for watching. Per usual, today's episode is brought to you by 810 Sports Radio. 810 Sports bringing you the next gen of sports right here on the Next Gen podcast. So thanks for hanging out with us. Let us know in any of the comment sections wherever you're seeing this, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever, TikTok, Instagram, it's all over the place. Let us know who you want to see next. We kept getting requests for young media industry people, specifically 810 people. So I think that's the next direction we're heading until we find some more athletes I can bug. So until then, I guess I will see you next week. Make sure that you follow John_Sjoberg. That's SJOBERG. It's really weird. On Instagram and John Sjoberg_ on Twitter. Thanks for tuning in. John, thanks for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.